When a woman starts acting hot and cold, most men immediately assume something is wrong, that they said the wrong thing, or that she's losing interest. But in reality, what looks like confusion on the surface is often something much deeper happening internally. Attraction creates emotional pressure, and when that pressure builds faster than she expected, her natural response is to pull back. Not because she doesn't like you, but because she likes you more than she feels ready for. When emotions start growing, they challenge her sense of control. She may be used to staying guarded, independent, or emotionally contained. Suddenly, she finds herself thinking about you more than she wants to admit, replaying conversations, feeling drawn in when she promised herself she wouldn't. That internal tug of war creates discomfort. One part of her wants to lean in, and the other part is trying to protect her heart from getting hurt. So instead of confronting that fear directly, she creates distance to calm herself down. This is why the shift can feel sudden. One day she's open, warm, and engaged, and the next she's distant, slower to respond, or emotionally reserved. Nothing external changed. The change happened inside her. The attraction crossed a threshold that made her pause. Distance becomes her way of regaining emotional balance. It gives her time to breathe, think, and feel safe again. The mistake many men make at this point is reacting emotionally. They chase clarity, ask for explanations, or try to lock things down. That response actually increases the pressure she's already feeling. When you pursue reassurance, it confirms her fear that things are moving too fast. What she needs in that moment is not more intensity, it's emotional stability. This is where your behavior matters more than your words. Staying calm, centered, and unbothered sends a powerful message. It tells her that you're comfortable with the pace, confident in yourself, and not dependent on her validation. That emotional strength creates safety. It allows her to resolve her internal conflict without feeling trapped or pushed. When you don't panic, you allow attraction to breathe. Space gives her the chance to process her feelings naturally, and more often than not, once that fear settles, curiosity and desire come back stronger. She starts leaning in again, not because you chased her, but because you didn't. Hot and cold behavior isn't rejection, it's hesitation caused by growing emotions. And when you understand that, you stop reacting from insecurity and start leading from confidence. Stay grounded, stay patient, and let her come to you when she's ready. There's a very specific pattern that shows up when attraction is real but fear is present, and it usually happens right after moments of closeness. Things feel easy, natural, and connected. The conversation flows, there's laughter, eye contact lingers a little longer, and maybe there's vulnerability or physical intimacy. Then, almost out of nowhere, she pulls back, messages slow down, enthusiasm drops, or she suddenly seems busy. To most men, this feels like rejection. But what's actually happening is emotional self regulation. Connection creates bonding, bonding creates emotional risk. And for someone who's not fully comfortable surrendering control, that risk triggers a need to step away. The closer she feels to you, the more real the possibility of getting hurt becomes. Pulling back isn't about punishing you or playing games, it's about giving herself space to stabilize her emotions. After moments of intimacy, emotions tend to spike. She may go home replaying everything in her head, realizing she feels more attached than she expected. That realization can be unsettling. So she does the only thing that helps her calm down. She creates distance. That space helps her slow the emotional momentum so she doesn't feel overwhelmed by it. The key thing to understand is that this pullback usually happens because something meaningful just occurred. If there were no emotional connection, there would be nothing to retreat from. Indifference doesn't need space. Strong feelings do. The mistake men make is assuming the pullback means they need to do more texting, more reassurance, more effort. But that only amplifies the pressure she's already feeling. When you respond by staying relaxed and letting the space exist, you send an unspoken signal of emotional maturity. You show that you're not afraid of distance and that your life doesn't revolve around her responses. This allows her to process her feelings without feeling chased or cornered. Ironically, that calm confidence is what makes her feel safe enough to come back. If instead you question the change, demand consistency, or try to recreate the intimacy too quickly, you interrupt the natural rhythm of attraction. Emotional closeness works best when it ebbs and flows. Trying to freeze it in place suffocates it. Real attraction grows when both people feel free. When she realizes that closeness doesn't cost her independence and that you're not emotionally attached to an outcome, her fear begins to dissolve. What started as distance slowly turns into renewed curiosity, investment, and desire. So when she pulls back after connection, don't take it personally. Take it as a sign that something real is happening. Stay steady, give her room, and let her emotions settle naturally. That patience is what keeps attraction alive. One of the most misunderstood signs of attraction is when a woman creates distance but doesn't truly disappear. On the surface, it looks like she's stepping back, yet beneath that space, there's quiet attention. She may not be texting as often, initiating plans, or expressing interest directly, but she's still watching. She views your stories, checks your updates, asks subtle questions through mutual connections, or reappears casually after a few days of silence. This isn't coincidence. It's curiosity mixed with caution. When emotions are involved, distance doesn't mean detachment, it means observation. She's trying to understand who you really are when she's not right in front of you. She wants to see if your confidence is real or if it only exists when she's giving you attention. By pulling back while staying aware of you, she's gathering information without putting herself emotionally at risk. This is where many men unknowingly fail the test. They notice the distance and immediately react. They post for attention, send messages fishing for reassurance, or try to force interaction. That behavior communicates insecurity and neediness, even if it's subtle. When she's watching from a distance, she's looking for emotional consistency. She wants to know whether you stay grounded or fall apart when she's not engaging. Silence gives her clarity. When she sees that your life continues, that you're focused, productive, social, and unaffected by her temporary withdrawal, attraction deepens. You become someone she feels drawn to rather than someone she feels responsible for. Emotional independence is magnetic because it removes pressure. She's also evaluating how safe it feels to come back. If distance turns you cold, resentful, or passive aggressive, it confirms her fear that closeness leads to emotional volatility. But if space doesn't change your energy, she feels reassured. Calm strength signals maturity. It tells her that connection with you won't come with emotional chaos. This is why she often resurfaces casually. A random message, a light comment, or a simple check and is her way of testing the waters. She's seeing whether the door is still open without feeling judged or pressured. Your response matters. Keeping it relaxed, positive, and uninvested in outcome shows her that reconnection is safe. Distance paired with attention is not rejection, it's evaluation. She's deciding whether leaning in feels right. When you don't chase, don't perform, and don't try to manage her emotions, you pass the test without even realizing it. Stay centered, stay patient, and let her observe. When she sees stability instead of anxiety, attraction naturally pulls her closer again. When a woman suddenly goes quiet, replies slowly, or seems emotionally unavailable, it rarely happens by accident. Very often, this silence is doing the talking for her. It's not going to punish or confuse you, it's a silent test of your emotional strength. Without saying a word, she's watching how you handle uncertainty, distance, and lack of validation. Attraction isn't built through constant reassurance. It's built by how someone shows up when things aren't perfectly clear. When she pulls back, she's checking whether you remain grounded in yourself or whether your emotional state depends on her attention. This test isn't calculated or manipulative in most cases, it's instinctive. She wants to feel that you're steady, not reactive. The moment many men fail this test is when they try to regain control. They double text, ask what's wrong, seek explanations, or subtly express frustration. Even well intentioned messages can communicate insecurity when they come from a place of needing reassurance. From her perspective, this confirms a theory that closeness will eventually lead to emotional pressure. Silence creates space for truth, it strips away words and reveals behavior. When she pulls back and you stay composed, it sends a powerful message. It shows you trust yourself, respect her autonomy, and don't panic when the dynamic shifts. That calm response speaks louder than any attempt to explain or fix things. This is also where masculine leadership shows itself. Leadership in relationships isn't about control, it's about emotional regulation. When you remain patient and continue living your life with purpose, she senses stability. Stability equals safety, and safety is what allows attraction to grow instead of collapse. Another layer of this test is whether you try to force clarity too soon. Demanding definitions or emotional guarantees when she's already feeling overwhelmed only increases resistance. Real confidence doesn't need immediate answers. It's comfortable with uncertainty because it knows value doesn't disappear overnight. Often, after a period of silence, she'll re engage in a low effort way. A short message, a casual reaction, or a simple check in This isn't random. It's her way of seeing if you're still the same man she felt drawn to, relaxed, centered, and emotionally strong. Passing this test doesn't require strategy, it requires self control. When you don't chase silence or take it personally, you allow attraction to unfold naturally. You show her that connection with you won't cost her peace. Stay calm, stay consistent, and let your emotional strength do the talking. One of the biggest mistakes men make in dating and relationships is thinking that they need to fix a woman's fear or convince her to feel a certain way. When a woman is scared of falling for someone trying to reassure her, explain, or chase her only increases the pressure she's already feeling. It's like pushing on a spring. The more you push, the more resistance you create. Real attraction doesn't come from trying to control her emotions. It comes from showing emotional strength, patience, and confidence in yourself. When you resist the urge to fix her fear, you signal that you're secure and self sufficient. You demonstrate that your happiness isn't dependent on her actions or validation. That independence is magnetic because it creates freedom, not pressure. Women feel safe around men who aren't desperate for closeness or immediate reassurance. Safety, both emotional and psychological, is what allows attraction to grow. It's important to understand that reassurance, explanations, and chasing are often a man's natural instinct when he senses distance. But when you respond that way, it confirms her internal worry that closeness will come with emotional drama. By contrast, when you stay calm, live your life, and maintain your standards without compromise, you create a space where she can process her emotions without feeling cornered. This patience shows her that you respect her autonomy, which paradoxically draws her closer rather than pushing her away. Your presence, when steady and grounded, becomes more powerful than any words you could say. Instead of trying to solve her fear, you allow her to resolve it internally. She begins to associate you with calmness, confidence, and reliability, traits that are deeply attractive. Over time, this creates a sense of trust and comfort that makes her more willing to lean into the connection on her own terms. Another subtle but critical point is that trying to fix her fear can unintentionally reduce the mystery and challenge that initially attracted her. Part of what makes a man desirable is his ability to remain composed and centered even when things feel uncertain. By not chasing or over explaining, you maintain a sense of confidence and independence that keeps her interest alive. Emotional patience and strength create tension in the healthiest way, making her want to come closer without pressure. When you give her space while staying consistent in your energy and standards, she begins to feel more secure and free. Freedom dissolves fear. When she realizes she can explore her feelings without losing control or being pushed, her attraction deepens. The pull toward you becomes natural because it's chosen, not forced. The truth is, fear and desire often go hand in hand. Trying to fix her fear disrupts that balance, but staying confident, patient, and self directed lets the balance exist and grow naturally. When you respect her space and remain emotionally strong, you don't just survive her hesitation. You become the kind of man she's drawn to effortlessly. The moment a woman feels free instead of cornered is when her fear starts to dissolve and desire begins to grow. Attraction is not about pressure manipulation or constant reassurance. It's about creating an environment where she feels safe enough to lean in on her own terms. When she's scared of falling for someone, she instinctively tests boundaries and pulls back to protect her emotions. But the paradox is that the more space she's given, the more comfortable she becomes with closeness. Freedom creates curiosity, and curiosity ignites desire. When you stop trying to force connection or control her feelings, you give her the opportunity to observe who you really are. She sees a man who is grounded, confident, and focused on his own life. That stability signals that you're not dependent on her for validation or happiness. Emotional independence is incredibly attractive because it communicates that being with you is a choice she can make freely, not a necessity she is forced into. When she recognizes that your value remains unchanged by her temporary distance, she starts to relax and feel drawn to you naturally. This process is subtle but powerful. She may test the waters by reaching out casually, showing small signs of interest, or engaging lightly to see if your energy has shifted. How you respond in these moments determines whether her fear transforms into desire or strengthens her resistance. If you remain calm, relaxed, and unreactive, it reassures her that she can approach the connection without risk, pressure, Over explaining or chasing at this stage only reinforces her fear and slows the process. Another important factor is consistency. When she sees that your confidence and purpose don't fluctuate with her actions, she begins to trust the dynamic. She realizes that she doesn't have to manipulate, test, or guard herself excessively because the man she's drawn to is secure enough to handle uncertainty without losing composure. That trust allows her desire to grow organically. She starts investing emotionally because it feels safe and rewarding, not because she feels obligated. Patience is key. Attraction doesn't accelerate on demand. It builds when both people feel free and unpressured. A man who understands this dynamic doesn't rush her or try to fix her fear. He creates space while maintaining his life goals and energy. This combination of freedom and high value presence acts as a magnetic force, naturally drawing her closer when she is ready to confront her emotions. The transformation from fear to desire happens when she recognizes that closeness with you is a choice she can make freely without compromising her independence. Your patience, composure, and ability to create a safe emotional environment allow her to lean in when she's ready, turning hesitation into genuine longing. Give her the freedom she needs, remain confident and grounded, and let attraction grow naturally without interference.